Okay, so I'm just gonna go down the list of questions. For number one, the basic political structure of Greece was city states. You had polises, and it was fairly united. It was political unity, and you had kings at the top of society. For number two, women slaves had no political rights, and also aliens. They had no right to vote, no right to citizenship, anything. They were looked down upon. Federalism was basically a coexistence of tribal organizations and the emerging polis organizations. Um, Number five, um, I'm sorry, number four. Um, there was a constant evolution of the Sparta polis, and it was able to take multiple forms, such as a monarchy, aristocracy, an oligarchy, all that good stuff. For number five, the I do not even pronounce this. The Lycurgus regime. That was basically a political, economic, and social system establishing an oligarch form of government. Um, Number six, describe what life was like for the women of Sparta. It was fairly equal. They were in charge of their houses. They had a good amount of economic and political freedom, and their role in life was looked at as equal compared to their male counterparts. They played a big role, obviously, in reproduction, which was something that the Spartans looked at as very important. They looked at the women as a necessity for their existence and survival. Um, the basic difference between life in Athens and Sparta was that in Athens you had a regulated military service. I'm sorry, in Athens you didn't have a regulated military service. In Sparta, it was more of a focus on obedience and war. Um, yeah, and so in Athens, it wasn't as uptight, and there wasn't that much big of an emphasis on the military and power. Um, Number eight, describe Athenian democracy. They had basically, it was called Deme. It was a local unit to serve as a basis for the political system. They were grouped into tribes. Number nine, again, how were women treated, their rights and statuses. They were they were treated basically, um, I guess, as humans. They didn't have that much political rights. They weren't able to vote. They didn't have that much big of a role in democracy, but they still had their obligations to the polis. Number 10, what was the distinctive feature of Athenian life and Greek life in general? And basically, it was just the constant evolution of the democracy. It was how democracy was constantly changing and taking different forms throughout Athens and other parts of Greece. Number 11, describe the role of polis regarding religion and gods. It basically regulated religion. Each polis was an independent religious system. Um, I guess aliens were looked down upon in other polises with religion. You had to practice. You couldn't practice as a citizen of another polis. You had to practice as an outsider. Number 12, Plato wrote about the ideal polis. His theory was basically the selection of the ruling class, which is governing by the education. It was justice. It also talked about how justice was achieved when each class fulfills its functions. And number 12, he wrote Aristotle wrote politics, and basically Aristotle's view on the perfect polis was, uh, I guess, rule of a constitution, which means proper governments by laws, rather than Plato, who wanted governing by the people, governing by the upper class, governing by the educated.